Yeah, the other fun thing too is that it's we try to make things as often as possible an experience for people, as opposed to just come here, order your beer or order your glass of wine, or like Tom mentioned, they'll include a small beer with the cigar event.
Hey travelers, welcome to the latest edition of the Taproom Takeover podcast. This is Landon, and I'm doing it solo today, but that's all right. We are taking over the K Point Taproom, which is adjacent to the coffee grounds here in Eau Claire, and I've got two guests with me today. So Candace, who is the assistant store manager of Coffee Grounds, is that correct? Is that title correct? Okay. And then Tom, you are the head brewer here at K Point?
Head brewer, dishwasher, glass washer, keg washer, yeah.
The master of all.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So, just from the get-go, a lot of the people that come to Eau Claire maybe overlook K Point, but it's really convenient, especially if you're going through Eau Claire on I-94. I mean, it's what? Not even a quarter mile off of I-94.
Yep.
So it's probably the most convenient stop that you can do in Eau Claire as far as breweries go if you're driving through. Shout out to Greg, who I do another show with. This is his favorite brewery in Eau Claire. He cannot stop talking about K Point. That's every time that he talks to me about breweries in Eau Claire, he goes, What's that one that I always go to? I said, K Point. Yeah, K Point. I love that place.
Marketing's working real good. Name recognition. He's got it down.
He's about like me. Bad with names.
No.
You remember what things look like that are there, so you start describing what the place looks like, and you go, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So K Point, how long has K Point been around? Because I remember there was an event at the old Lazy Monk, and I think K Point beer was there. So I'm dating myself here. This is probably 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago.
We would have been there for a tasting, or
yeah, I believe so.
Maybe, but yeah, this will be our 4th year in May.
Officially in this building?
2 years in this, and maybe 3. We started brewing beer in the kitchen next door.
Okay.
On the Sabco 10-gallon system.
Sure.
One corny at a time. So that was 2015.
Okay.
I think that summer or fall we started that.
And I think that would have probably been when I had your beer. Yeah.
And then I think might be 3 years that we've been in this space now. Come this May. Yeah. Time flies. I don't.
Right? Yeah. And when you guys first started, 2015, the scenery looked a lot different here in Eau Claire as far as breweries go. Didn't it?
Well, yeah, Lazy Monk had been established. Brewing Project was going.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Modicum wasn't there yet.
Modicum hadn't started yet.
Ambibulous is only 2 years old.
Yep.
And I don't believe... Was there a Bloomer Brewing Company even back then?
Oh, yeah.
There?
They've been around a little. They've moved to a different building.
Right.
And then Lucette has been there for quite a while.
Sure. But you guys are one of the what I would consider one of the starter ones here in Eau Claire, one of the originals. Sure. Even though maybe people weren't aware of it.
Yeah, it's like you said, if we're on whatever the Highway 93 exit. Yeah. But it truly is a south side type tap room. The neighborhood comes. We're not going to get a lot of business from the college kids because there's ways to get up here.
And that's probably got its advantages and disadvantages.
Well, yeah. And when we start talking about styles, we might be out of their market too to some degree. But
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about all of this is I think everyone in the area who's got a brewery kind of does their own thing as far as filling a niche for what you can do with beer, and
right.
And I think it's been very nice to have that. Just everybody's doing a little different stuff. Like, we're not doing the same stuff as, monks are down there, but, they're doing some awesome stuff. Same with modicum and brewing, and I don't know, everybody's just got kind of a unique thing going, and
I would say that's probably one of the most, how would I want to phrase it? Probably one of the nicest things that I found out about Eau Claire, the Eau Claire beer scene, I guess, as I've gone from place to place to place. Obviously, I know everybody down at Lazy Monk because that's where I go the most frequent, and that's, I've worked there and blah, blah, blah. But all of these other places, I never see the same faces when I go there, but they're there every time I go there. So every place has their regulars, and that's their brewery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I try to get to every place every couple months at least.
Sure.
Just
Yeah.
as much to patronize their business, but and I'm not checking up. If anything, I'm like, okay, I'm still doing okay because
Yeah.
comparing quality is really kind of what I'm there for. I mean, I enjoy their styles and such and try different things, but I'm not necessarily coming back and going, oh, I'm going to duplicate that. That's good quality. I think I'm there too. So, and it's a good part of the job.
Right.
Research and
Right.
just enjoying
R&D.
Yeah, enjoying other people's products.
Yeah, if anybody ever questions you, you can just say, I'm just researching and developing. I'm just trying to be better at my craft.
Right.
That's my excuse.
Yeah.
That's what I do. So, I mean, that would lead me into, so how do you decide what you're going to brew?
Well, over the last few years, we've sat and decided, okay, we're going to have an IPA, house IPA on all the time, a house pale ale. Our coffee stout will forever be on. People really enjoy that. And our pre-prohibition lager.
Okay.
So in between that, it's just somewhat seasonal. Everybody here likes saisons. They like Hefeweizen, the Oktoberfest come that season. I really like smoked lagers and ales, so I'm playing around with that. And it's basically me reading articles and go, oh, that sounds good. I want to try that. But typically, again, I think our position here is I'm trying to make more or less classic styles that have been around forever.
Yeah.
And just trying to replicate to some degree that, because the reason they've been around forever is because they're well known and liked.
Right.
And I tell people I'm a beer drinker. I want to sit down and be able to have 2 or 3 pints. And here we have food, and so part of my job is to, okay, what's on the menu next door? What can we match with that? And make it kind of a beer food environment.
Right.
Versus, going way out there making other things that, again, I appreciate, and why I go to other places and try their beer just to go what's going on. But there are some that that's not my style, which has been an interesting education too, because early on, if people say, well, I don't like this,
Right.
okay, it's not because it's not of high quality, it's not your style.
Right.
Let's try something else.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Well, and speaking of pairing beer with food, you guys do a lot of events here, and I know with COVID and stuff, a lot of that got stopped. But is that coming back? Is that something that we're gonna see again?
Yeah, I think we've already sort of dipped our toe in that waters with Bachfest.
Nice, yeah.
It was a gorgeous day. We had, 35 people spread out, on that patio and in the tap room and stuff, just enjoying the Bach. And I think we had, some brats, we had turkey legs that day. Yeah, we had some smoked turkey legs.
And brats.
And so it wasn't anything, crazy or super complicated, but it was nice for folks to get out, enjoy the weather, and a little bit of camaraderie again. We do a lot of stuff like that. We've done, beer dinners where, Will has kindly worked with us and provided some combinations that everybody's excited about. We actually have Bacon Fest coming up in May, where you get a basket of bacon and a beer.
Yeah.
you can continue to get more beer and more bacon if you like, but
Yep.
just little stuff like that. We do have the added bonus of food. I've done beer pairings with cheeses and desserts and things like that. I've got one of those coming up probably later in May as well. And it's fun because, we've got all the stuff that Tom's making, and sometimes he'll say, I've got this beer coming up, and I'll say, okay, that's good. I'll think of something to go with that. You got any ideas? Or the other way around, I'll say, okay, I want to use this beer. What can we pair with it?
Sure.
So there's a lot of different ways to do that, but we've got a lot at our disposal as far as like what we can do in the kitchen. We can source, some really interesting food items, which we've done before. We've special ordered like cheeses or truffles for some particular pairing that we've chosen. And so between that and those classic styles that are known for pairing with foods really well, it's just a dream. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also overwhelming because sky's the limit on some of that stuff. So I'm just, currently in the process of trying to figure out what this next beer flight night pairing is going to be. And it's a little overwhelming because you're like, just simply anything. I mean, yeah. Go sweet, go savory, go, a few small plates. I mean, it's a lot to think about, really, especially when you're excited about it.
Right.
You're just like, oh my, I could do anything here.
And if people want to find out about those events, where's like the easiest place to check those out?
Thecoffeegrounds.com.
Okay.
And under our events tab, we list all of those events that we've got coming up. Kind of all in one place. I think right now the Bacon Fest is on there. I don't think my beer flight night has been scheduled yet, but it'll be probably in May sometime. So all those tend to go there. I mean, and the other fun thing that we do here besides food is also we've got like liquor and wine available for people.
Right.
And we also have I know Will has a Balcones tasting coming up, and some stuff like that.
Which is delicious, by the way. I'll
Right.
just interject.
It is.
I had 2
It
bottles
is.
of it and they're gone.
That's a good problem, right?
Yeah.
But we do all kinds of stuff like that, and if you like your food and you like your tastings and flavorings and pairings, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Well, and really, in Eau Claire, it's the only place that we have what you could consider even marginally a brew pub, because you can sit here and have a beer and you can get food.
Yeah.
So there's no other place in Eau Claire that even has that. You have to order your food in or or whatever, or bring it in. You guys do some whiskey and cigar pairings too, right?
Yeah.
And that's out of this area too, out of the brewery.
Yep, we've got some cigar events coming up in these warmer months.
Sure.
For sure too.
Yep.
And I'm sure more whiskey liquor events.
I think it was
and tastings.
2 years ago we did a cigar event on April 2nd.
Yeah.
We're in the front of the building with a pop-up tent. The wind is howling. It's snowing. It's like maybe a little too early for that this year, but Eric does put together, gets reps up, 2 or 3 cigar events, and it goes with the beer. Yes, we do the whiskey tastings quite frequently and such, and that is true. It is what's fun about, even before I was doing this, I did work the floor.
Yeah.
When I was still doing my other job.
Yep.
And it was like going to Toys R Us for a kid and just, looking at all the bottles and doing everything. So it is a fun place to work because there's so many things that we can do with the beer and or other things that can appeal to, if you're not a beer drinker, sit with your husband or wife, have a beer, and why they can have a glass of wine and whatever. So
yeah, something for everyone, I think. Yeah, the other fun thing too is that it's we try to make things as often as possible an experience for people, as opposed to just come here, order your beer or order your glass of wine, or like Tom mentioned, they'll include a small beer with the cigar event, or like, oh, which one should we put with that? What do you we'll talk about it and decide which one we would recommend. We let people choose usually for something like that, but usually we're like, this is the recommended pairing to go with it, and I think that I don't know. It adds something to it to make an experience for people, and that's kind of what we're fortunate to be able to do here. Is just something a little different.
And I would say that's probably what sets you apart. Not that the other places don't have good things too, but I would think every place has to find their own niche, and this is what you guys have too. You had alluded a little bit to the patio, and it's way bigger than I had ever remembered, because I had seen people having coffee and stuff out on the coffee ground side, and of course you guys have your own patio on the K Point side too. So there's plenty of space for. I know, and I'm guilty of it too. I love a good patio. Honestly, if whatever brewery I go to, if there's a patio and it's nice, I'm going outside. If there's a place for me to sit or stand or whatever, that's where I'm going. Yeah. But that's part of the great thing too. I think Eau Claire's the breweries have done a great job with outdoor space, and that was even before COVID hit. So I think that's one of the greatest things about the Eau Claire beer scene is the patio space.
Yeah, and we're possibly looking at upgrading a little bit with some cover and such. And
sure.
And this is a great time of year because the peepers in the pond next door are chirping, and they're not on the menu, but
frog legs not on the menu.
Not on the menu. But they could be. You could do a frog leg and beer pairing.
Well, it's the city's pond, so
we'd have to outsource the frog legs, but there's just for ambiance there.
That's nice ambiance. It's good. Let's see. We talked about events. So plans for the future for K Point. People always want to know what's coming up in the future. I'm usually just happy with being present in the moment, but people always ask, well, what's happening in the future? So like beer, any new crazy beers that you're going to try? I know you say that you brewed traditional styles and maybe stuff that you find in articles and whatever, but is there anything that you might think that you do or you might want to do?
Well, I don't know if everyone. Well, I don't know if everyone knows
I ask
this
them
yet.
all the
but
time. What should we be doing?
But I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was about a year ago now, we put in the hand pump system, the cask system.
Yeah.
So some people might have missed that happening or didn't notice it, and it kind of flew under the radar because we didn't have people in the tap room. But that's kind of been one project that you're trying to dial in some of the beers that you've enjoyed.
And if there is, I was over at Nonick or Nonick, I think how people are pronouncing it, but they've got cask, and that's one that I've got to replicate. I got to figure out a recipe because otherwise I need to go sit there and drink cask ale all day long.
Just Brian.
I just absolutely love it. And again, I think that gets back to I like brewing more classic things because it's just there's a reason they are. So.
You've traveled a lot and you've actually spent time drinking cask beer in Germany, which has helped because now you're like, okay, this is what I know it can be like.
And it is selfish.
Yeah.
I want to drink the beer I want to drink. And that's where you ask about wild, crazy stuff. And I'm very hesitant to even call it that because it is other people's creative product. And I enjoy trying things. I mean, I try to get Candace all the time. We've got a case full of other people's beer right next door. Let's open up a bunch just so I can try them.
Yeah.
But do I gravitate? I've done some juicies and that, and for me, it's a style that I just, again, if I'm not going to be able to sit and drink 2 or 3 pints, especially when they're at 6, 8, 7, 2.
Right.
I can enjoy them for what they are. The quality is very good around this area. It's just let those guys do it. And we've actually had some people like, oh, you don't have any New England style. You don't have some big juicy things. Like, I know some place you can go. It's great. That's the place you need to go.
Right.
It's not a problem. I mean, it's, like I said, it's not bad beer. It's style if you like it or not. And that's why we have a lot of choice in town. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can stick to what you know and love and what fits what you're doing. And everybody else can also do that. And there's room for all of it.
And I wish, going back to the cask engine, I wish more people knew about that style of beer. It seems to be something that's really gone under the radar overall. Because believe it or not, we're still getting new beer drinkers all the time. I mean, we're getting way more seltzer drinkers, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, which is what I say when I walk into a store and I see the whole seltzer section. I go, oh no.
Yeah.
But you guys are. I believe you're the only brewery in Eau Claire that has a cask engine at all. Nautic is the closest one that I know of.
Is Eric got one over at Modicum?
No, he's got
No.
side.
Yeah, he's got the
pulls,
side pours.
Okay, yep, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of.
which
Yep.
is pretty cool too.
It is pretty cool.
I'll let him invest in the
Right.
taps.
We'll have him on. We'll have him on the podcast soon
Yeah.
enough. But
Yep.
Eric's a great guy too. But that's when you come into a place, and I'm probably speaking to the choir, but honestly, when you see something different, that's when you should just go. And I know all the people here that work here are friendly and will answer all of the questions you have. But if you see something that's out of the ordinary for you, you should go, hey, what's that? And they'd be happy to explain it to you. But I know people around here, a lot of the newer ones, if you say cask, they have no idea what you're talking about. And it's sad because that's some of my favorite beer.
Yeah.
But and I'll preach cask beer on the mountains, because that's, if I see something that's on cask, I'll just order it no matter what. Do you want to try it? No, just give it to me, because I really want to try it. But that's great. I'm glad you guys mentioned that, because honestly,
and again, it's part of the fun.
Yeah.
I mean, pulling a beer is, again, you watch any movie from England, that's what
they're doing.
I mean,
Yeah.
Let's just bring
And
in
I guess
something
it's
that's new and different.
It's probably not going to be your style if you like a really cold Busch Light. You're probably not going to like cask beer.
Yep.
But I would encourage people to try it nonetheless.
Yeah, we have the staffs make sure they know if they've never had it, it's going to be warm-ish and flat-ish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. So that's why right now we have the red ale on tap and on the cask, just if you want to try the comparison. And
Yeah.
Well, and that'll be perfect for like a flight night that you have coming up, right?
Yep.
That's the perfect time to try new things.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah. So I really want to talk about the coffee grounds too, but I really want to take a break for our sponsor. So we're going to do that. We'll come right back and we'll talk more with Candace and Tom about K Point and coffee grounds right here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Stick around. This podcast is sponsored by Grazie Aveda Concept Salon and Paradise Massage, where whole body care is their specialty. Now offering massage, nail, and hair care services tailored to everyone's individual needs. They're conveniently located at 4638 Gulf Road in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, or find them online at graziesalon.com. All right, we're back with Candace and Tom from K Point and the Coffee Grounds right here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We had talked a little bit about I guess we didn't talk about the availability of the beer. So growlers, crawlers, cans, those kinds of things, how you can take K Point home. I know in the past that K Point was only available in 32-ounce cans. Is that still the case, or are you moving to different sizes?
Yeah, well, we actually, just in the last week or two here, got a canner to do 16-ounce cans.
Nice. Yeah.
So we're able to do that now, which is a little more flexibility.
Sure.
Don't have to have a full 32 of one, but you certainly can buy, a 4-pack of all the same kind.
And we do have the canner for the 32-ounce for sale. If somebody
Yes. That is
if you
true.
want to,
it's going fast.
If anybody's
if someone needs one.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll definitely negotiate the pricing. So
It's looking for a home. But, it was nice. We just decided to go the route of the smaller cans. I guess the Coffee Grounds is kind of known for folks being able to do like a mix and match of cans, bottles, just one at a time and not committing to the entire pack. So we decided to make the switch, and so far it's we've been having a hard time getting caught up on filling the coolers with beer and keeping it full. So we just,
I guess it's a good problem to have.
It is. It
yeah.
is. Like, I was actually going to do a little bit of canning here before my shift because I'm like, gosh, all that mech IPA is basically gone now. So got to keep it filled. Of course, we'll still do, growler fills if folks want them. Absolutely. But I think that can 4-packs are pretty approachable.
Yeah.
And it just makes it convenient if folks just want to enjoy one beer.
And the 16 ounce seems to be a popular size around Eau Claire. I've seen that Modicum just went to 16 ounce too, and I know Lazy Monk is always at 16 ounce, and I believe Brewing Project is there too.
Yep.
So that's and it's good to have choices.
Exactly.
Because I know that I've spent probably several $100s or more grabbing random things from the coolers. So that's. We talk about it, if for those that are listening, if you've also watched our vlog, we've talked about going to the coffee grounds to get stuff for the vlog. So lots of receipts saved from the coffee grounds. So
yeah, that again, that's something that helps me as a brewer, even if it's a style I'm not going to tackle.
Right.
Candace is constantly introducing me to new stuff. Oh, you need to try this. You need to try that.
Tom's like, I can't. It's too much. No.
And we sit and, I was like, well, what did you like about it?
Right.
Okay, what did I like about it? And it is, again, a nice source that people can come here, get our beer, get a lot of other people's beer. I think we have pretty much everybody that's local.
I've got everything I can get.
So
if they're willing to distribute here,
plus Candace does a great job of getting some of the hot names and things that are out there, and it may be limited, but she's the one to talk to get it. So.
Yeah, if you see it on Facebook, if Candace drops something on Facebook and there's something on that picture you want to get, you just get over here right away.
Right. Yep. The Eau Claire Beer Collective there, we'll give them a little plug, but it's been a fun resource for all of us, sampling and trying the different beers and posting what's new and I try to keep folks updated if I know they're into the samples and grabbing something fun for the weekend.
The problem is it doesn't last very long.
Right? Yep.
Especially if you happen to have a couple friends over and they're like, "Ooh, what's this? Can I have this?"
Right. And you're like, "But I only have one."
But I only have one, so
share with me.
You're gonna have to share it with me.
Yep. That's for sure.
But yeah, that's a good problem to have, and I'm glad that that beer's moving. The 16 ounces are moving, so that's great. Have you noticed any one particular style that moves faster than the others? Are we still in an IPA era, or?
As far as in general, all the beer coolers.
I would say
K
Point and the other.
Well, like I said, there's like 3 cans of mech out there right now. It's not even a full 4-pack, and it was full over the weekend. So mech seems to be we're having trouble keeping it in right now. And I think coffee stout is always a big seller for us too. So those two are pretty big for us as K Point. As far as in general beer trends, I think there's still a lot of IPAs. At one point, it was overwhelmingly 4 out of 5 cases I was selling was hop forward beers, and I think that's sort of cut back a little.
Yeah,
I would say it's probably closer to 3 and 5 now, which doesn't seem like much, but there's definitely that market moving in of those classic styles that Tom was mentioning, which is your Baltic porters and your Vienna lagers, and you got a Hefeweizen and something like that. So there's definitely I'm trying to find places to source some of those things outside the building too, to keep a good variety over there in the coffee grounds coolers. And there's more breweries doing them now, which I think we haven't always seen, or at least in the last 3 or 4 years, it wasn't always as easy to find. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Nice to see.
Yeah. Have you noticed that lager drinkers are starting to come back? I know I did a vlog. I don't know. It's probably been more months than I even care to think about now. It seems like it was yesterday, but I questioned whether or not lager was still popular, because I hadn't seen when you see people post, you don't see a lot about lager anymore.
Yeah, and I think some of that also though is lagers you really need to somewhat study them as you drink them.
Sure.
Where a lot of ales are like right in your face. Ooh, there it is. It's I can taste and smell everything. And lagers take a little more time, obviously too, but just the subtleness of what lager beers are like. I think it's just as much maybe a counter to all the big in-your-face flavors and aromas that the other beers are giving, and that I want to step back and try something else that's a little more subdued and
palatable.
Well, and again, it's
depending on your taste.
And that's, I think, because again, I'm going to sit and drink beer. I want to sit and drink 2 or 3 pints, and sometimes you can't do that with some of the other beers because your palate's just burned out after 8 ounces, which again is what they are.
Yep.
But I think lagers obviously bring a counter to that.
So are you seeing a push for them? Maybe even a little bit of a push?
Well,
or pull?
I guess to a point. I mean, our pre-pro especially during the summer, and I mean all year round, but during the summer moves really well.
Nice.
I've got a new experimental fest beer that I should be able to put on in a couple weeks, which is I'm trying to prime it for Oktoberfest. So it'll be I did a Helles this year.
Okay.
And we've done a Helles almost every year, but so I'm looking for a replacement for that, just to give me something else different to do.
Right.
But they hold up really well. It's been surprising through COVID that all our beers are in tanks, and they've really made it much longer than we expect them to. I'd rather not have them around that long,
right.
But it was what it was. So, but they're doing well, and like I said, I think it's just the drinkability of lagers is what people are
maybe bringing people
experimenting with now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think there's maybe an increase in appreciation for the more delicate notes of a lager, and also sometimes to give, I think people are finding, even if they enjoy a really bitter IPA or some barrel-aged stouts, that they still do appreciate a break on the palate. So they're grabbing a few lagers and, more classic styles just to sort of smooth it out.
Yeah.
Give it a break, because if all you're drinking is high octane stuff that's really intense, you kind of lose some of the appreciation for it, I guess.
And I think that probably, because I'm on the opposite end of that, I was never really into high octane IPAs, but the barrel aged stuff for a while, and then I got fatigued on it.
Yeah.
You really can have too much barrel aged beer. I used to think no, you couldn't have it. Yeah, you can.
You reach that
can
point.
Have too much barrel aged beer.
It exists.
Yeah, it does. It does exist, and you got to have those what I would consider burner beers in the fridge.
Yep.
Those low ABV 4.5, 4% beer, where you can just have a beer and you don't feel anything after you've had that beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just stocked up for the summer my amount of Coors Banquet and hams.
And hams.
Yep.
There's 2 beers that don't get mentioned all that often.
Oh, right. Well, the one that's been flying was hot last week was the Wenstefaner Helles in the can. I mean,
really
blew through that.
Oh,
and,
it's
wow.
And
it's delicious.
I love that beer.
Yeah.
But, I actually had a glass of it
great.
out over at Growler Guys not that long ago. So yeah. But Weihenstephaner, there's another brewery and all the beers that they make that people just aren't even aware of. So. Yeah.
I don't know. I think.
You got to be able to pronounce the name. It scares them off.
Our customers are doing a good job finding that, and also, we go through a lot of lagers over here. Like you said, the pre-pro is really popular, especially among our regulars. They're like, it was off for a month maybe?
Yeah.
A month or so, as we were, transitioning, making room for it in the cooler, and get calls every week. Is the pre-pro back on? Is the pre-pro back? It's back now, everybody.
Yeah.
But that's nice. That's great. It's like they've got their favorite, and got to respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into a little bit of the coffee ground, since it's attached and it's part of this too. So all that you offer, and we talked a little bit about all of the selection of the beers and the things that you get over there, but there's not just that. There's wine and whiskey and cigars and all.
There's a whole
there's
lot
a
of
lot.
stuff over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot to keep track of some days. We've got, like you said, we've got full liquor section of a lot of harder to find stuff, a lot of specialty stuff. It's just a lot to sift through because there's so much out there that you can get that we just choose not to because we want to make experiences for shopping and selecting here. We want to make it easy for people to find something special and something unique. And so we sift through things and we go through catalogs and we ask and we try to get samples when we can just to find those products that fit what we're trying to do for folks, is provide that experience. And we do carry a few things like specialty mixers or like bitter milk, the little cocktail mix supplies and stuff, but not a lot of it. And the stuff that we do carry is unique and high quality.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not just carrying something that you can find down at the gas station. You know what I mean?
I would say
It's fun.
If you've ever watched America's Test Kitchen, for those of you that are PBS watchers, if whatever they reviewed in the test kitchen, that was one of the products like OXO Good Grips or whatever, you can find it here because my wife loves to cook. And so she'd always be like, "Oh, I really love that." And I'm like, I bet I can go find it out at Coffee Grounds. And sure enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in addition to all those things that you mentioned, all the great vices, we've got, not only
fish
that,
email.
There's fish. That's another whole thing. But kitchen, we've got some amazing cookware and really cool gadgets and specialty spices. And we send out emails a couple times a week. A lot of it is, pre-order fresh seafood offerings,
Sure.
Which have been hugely popular, which has allowed us to do some really cool things, sourcing some specialty foods and things that we haven't gotten before, but because of this kind of renewed interest in some of that, we've been able to get some really neat stuff. Specialty cheeses. Last week we had a brie with truffle. Yep,
Ooh.
we tried that. I tried some. It was amazing. Sold two huge wheels of it, but it's something that's just a little bit different, for people to have and have around. And it's nice to see people investing in their home kitchens too, because we see a lot of that. Like we sell Wusthof knives and we see people investing in some of those items now. And it's nice because, it's just, you can do a lot with a lot of that stuff at home. And you can't get some of that stuff just anywhere.
Right.
As far as like ordering some of the foods and the dishes, like you'd have to travel a far distance to find something like that on the menu. And, we had some really great fresh oysters again ordered in last week. And it's like, well, buy an oyster knife, get them oysters open there.
We've got it for you.
Yeah. Yep. And we've been doing 2 and 4 person dinners to go. Those have been awesome. Will and Quinn have got to do some really cool stuff in the kitchen, and as far as like coming up with some of their favorites or finding new recipes that they want to make, and you get your bottle of wine and your dinner, and I don't know, it's just.
And that's probably
been doing different things now, in the past year, and that's been one of them that people are like, "You're going to keep doing this, right? Please don't stop doing the weekly dinners." We're like, well, I assume we'll keep them going, but
sure.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the nicest things about having a brewery next to all of that. Because, there's a lot going on over there, like you said. A married couple can come in. Whoever wants to drink the beer is going to stay and drink the beer and maybe watch TV while the other one goes over and...
Oh, yeah. You can grab your drink and you can go shop next door and poke around and see what you find, Step in the humidor, grab something to enjoy on the patio.
If there were more places my wife could just drop me off and I could have a beer and she would be okay with it, I think this world would be a better place.
Yep. It's often big during the holidays where people are like, you just stay here. We'll go get some Christmas shopping done.
Yeah. I was in, this is a little tangent, and what kind of a podcast would it be without a tangent?
Mm-hmm.
But I was in Prague, and as I was walking to the main square in Prague, I seen a sign that said husband babysitter drop off or something to the effect of that. And I walked past, but I remembered it, and I was there by myself. But I thought, you know what? I bet that's a pretty cool place. So walked around a little bit, and I went, let's see if I can find that drop-off place. I bet there's some fun people in there. So I found that. And, of course, a lot of women were dropping their husbands off there as they shopped, the little stores that are around. So I think you got something similar to that here where, you can be dropped off. And, I mean, literally, anytime I go in there to find a present for my wife, I'm probably here for 45 minutes, and that's not even the time that I allot for myself to find new beer or whiskey or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's a lot to see, and there's days where I see something new, and I was like, how did I miss that? How did I miss that coming in the store? I see most of that stuff as it comes through, or someone else has talked about it before it arrives, and but sometimes there's one that slips by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's that?
And we didn't even talk. You guys roast your own coffee too, right?
We do, yeah.
I was gonna
so
say,
yeah, the
at some
Coffee
point
Grounds
we need to mention
is
that
also
they
a
have
coffee
coffee,
shop.
so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we've we do everything delicious and wonderful and enriching.
It's again, like I said, it's always when I moved here in '90. So when the Coffee Grounds is over by Prangy Way or something in London Square Mall.
Yeah.
And he had a wine shop. And I think
Sure.
there was Roy's in town, and I'm big into wine too. And it just from that moment, getting a relationship with Eric and just watching his whole business grow. And there have been several times I've come in, I've seen something, read something on the internet, and I'm like, oh, I just saw this recipe or something. Do you happen to have that? He goes, yeah, it's right over here. It's like, again, I probably walked by it 8 times until I realized I wanted this.
Yeah.
And then he came here and it's like, no, yeah, it's right here. And they do try to be selective and that we're not going to offer everything that everybody else offers.
Right.
It's a unique place. And like you said, the high end of some cookware and such it truly is. I mean, it is of its own. There's nothing else in town like it, and it may not then be for everybody, but for those that it is, you can spend a lot of time here and entertain yourself. So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you still do that. You're like, hey, Will, I saw this cocktail that I want to make. Can you get me this? And usually he's got
the
some
bitters.
But
the COVID cocktail hour.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone through so many recipes. Mezcal. It's like, do you have some of that? Well, yeah, I got a whole rack of it right here. It's like, okay, this is going to be a problem. But,
yeah, because you've been experimenting with the cocktails over COVID. And
Who hasn't? Who hasn't?
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
not just
right.
me.
Yep.
Right. No, it's not.
I'm not
it's
the only
just
one with
you.
the problem.
Yeah.
I think the first month of COVID, it was just
Just
what
keep
can
a
we
bottle
we
right
mix
there.
up?
Yep. But
Yeah, and that's great because like I said before, I'm a frequenter of Coffee Grounds, and usually if someone asks me, do you think we can get this in Eau Claire, I say, well, try the Coffee Grounds. If it's not there, it's probably not in town. But I hesitate because I want this to be my place.
right. Little undiscovered
and not
gem.
everybody else's. But,
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's great. We've and it's funny that Tommy mentioned the London Square thing, but the Coffee Grounds has been an evolving thing unto itself for 30 years now. I think 30 years,
Wow.
right around this time of year, because we usually, and many folks remember, we would always have our spring wine tasting,
Right.
which we weren't able to have last year because of our friend COVID, and also this year we just kind of held off on it. But
Sure.
it's an evolving thing. It's just it's almost got a mind of its own, but it's fueled by all these smaller minds that we're always trying to come up with new things and new products to add or new ways to do things, and finding out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's fun. Like
And it
who
should
knew
be.
a coffee shop could turn into all of this?
Right. Yeah, the progression has been.
Yeah.
I think even when I moved to Eau Claire, the Coffee Grounds is over where Infinity is now,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I remember when you guys moved out here, and it was
Yeah.
a whole nother thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
All kinds of space.
And I think I've only been here 15 years, 16 years, something like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of evolution here in Eau Claire. Who would have thought? Is there anything that I didn't cover that you guys wanted to cover about either K Point or Coffee Grounds, either one? How can people best find what's going on at either place, social media wise?
Well, K Point and the Coffee Grounds both have their own Facebook pages.
Okay.
So sometimes we'll
Okay.
update, what Tom's brewing on K Point page. I put when we debuted the cans, that one on the Facebook, and we do a lot of cross posting.
Okay.
We do that. Also, our website is kind of the place to see what events are coming up listed for you.
The website probably gives you the
Yeah.
most detail on things, but Facebook we do pop out quite a bit on
Okay.
this is what's happening this weekend, and just trying to keep it top of mind.
Yep.
Use it that way.
Sure.
So.
Email. We have an email list, as I had mentioned. We call it the fish list because that's how it originally started, but it's really so much more. Like
Sure.
these days, it
Yep.
includes usually several seafood offerings, as well as sometimes a featured wine and cheese of the week, and then we have a weekly dinner that's been going on for the past year now. So it's really a lot more than
And
fish.
it's not a
With
spam
events.
thing. I mean, it
No.
literally is. It's Monday. Where's my fish mail?
Yep.
And all the listings of the offerings for the
Yep.
week and the events that are going
And
on.
events.
And
when
then
we
you can
plan
go to the
them.
website and look at the detail. But it's not every day we're
Right.
going to send you out a new special this and that. It's no, here's what's going on this week, and
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Here's the info.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we do have a place on our website to sign up for that too. So if folks want to get on that list.
don't
it's-
get turned off if it's called a fish list.
right. We all call it that because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's what it started as, but
Sure.
no, that's a lot more now.
No, that's great. Well, I look forward to coming to a lot more events out here. It always seems that I'm doing something, but
You're a busy guy.
unfortunately, yes. Someday when I retire, maybe, and that's a lot of years off, but maybe I'll have time. I just
Right.
need to live that
oh
long.
man, you just
So-
gotta somehow plan it into the work
right.
that you're doing.
Just make it a work function.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here's where we're having the meeting today, guys.
right.
Bacon Fest.
Oh, I got to put that one on. See, if I put it on the calendar, then it sticks.
There
You
you
know,
go.
like I had it on the calendar. We
And
got
what-
to do it
and-
now.
And what date is that, Candace?
That's May 1st.
May
Is our
1st.
Bacon Fest.
Tom's
that
gonna put it on his
Saturday?
calendar too.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That should be fun. We've done the bacon with the beer in the past, but it's been a while, so it'll be
Saturday, May 1st.
Yeah,
Good to bring that
absolutely.
back.
I'm going to put that on my calendar as soon as we're done.
good. Yeah, and then there's never any leftover bacon somehow. It's just,
I
it's like
Can't imagine why.
all the bacon. Yep.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you guys again for coming on this podcast. I truly appreciate it, and all of the rest of the Taproom travelers who aren't here also appreciate it as well.
Yes, indeed.
Make sure, for those of you that are listening, check them out on Facebook and all of the other social media channels that you can find them on. Also, check out Taproom Travelers on Instagram, Facebook, and of course YouTube. I think I even tweeted once in the last month, so you could do that. It's a real hellstorm out there, so go to Twitter if you dare. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We will talk to you next week on the Taproom Takeover podcast. Prost.